Am I the a-hole for refusing to date a pregnant woman and potentially a single mother? I'm going to keep this as short as I can, but it's a bit of a mess. I, 27 male, have been working with Richard, 31 male, a colleague of mine. He's been trying to set me up with his family friend, Sarah, 28 female, and I agreed to go on a date with her. On the date, I thought she was really fun, and we seemed to be pretty compatible. We had a good time and I was actually looking forward to seeing her again. But during the second date, Sarah mentioned that she's pregnant. She's about 4 months along, and I wasn't sure how to handle it. I took a long time to process it and didn't know how to reply. Personally, I didn't know people expecting a child still went on dates, both men and women. I always thought the baby would be their priority for at least 2 years. Maybe I'm out of touch, but I'm not judging them. That said, I just don't want to date someone with a child. Not because of some spicy reason, I just don't want to be a stepfather. If I scold my own kid, they'd be upset. But if I say something to someone else's, there's a high chance of hearing, "You're not my father." And then there's the whole situation with the baby's father. Real dad, fake dad drama I don't want to be part of. Honestly, I don't think I could love someone else's child like my own. So, I tried to stay calm during the date. I didn't know how to react or how to say it to her, but by the end, when she asked when we could meet again, I had to be honest and told her that I didn't want to continue the relationship because I don't see myself taking on the huge responsibility of being a stepfather. Afterward, Richard was furious with me. He told me that Sarah had been cheated on by her husband, and during the divorce, she found out she was pregnant. She didn't want to keep the baby because she didn't want to raise it alone, but all her friends, including Richard, persuaded her to keep it, saying that there are plenty of good guys out there who would step up. Richard then told me that the first good guy he thought of was me. He said I was the only one she liked among the guys they set her up with. She was clearly upset about being rejected, though she didn't say anything to him, but it was obvious she was sad. At that point, I was frustrated. I didn't even know she was pregnant before the date, and now I'm being pushed into this situation? I told Richard that while I feel bad for Sarah, it's not my responsibility to fix her situation. I'm still figuring things out, and I'm not ready to be with someone who's pregnant. It's sad, but it's just not something I want to take on. After that, I started noticing my colleagues giving me the cold shoulder. Ben, 28 male, one of them, told me that Richard had been telling people I almost caused a pregnant woman to lose her child because of my behavior. I set the record straight with Ben, and now he's suggesting I take this to HR because of how Richard is portraying me. So, am I the a-hole for not wanting to date a pregnant woman? Now for the top comments. Since Richard has brought the workplace into it, I would bring in HR. I am shocked that he set you up knowing she was pregnant and didn't tell you. As you said, it isn't your responsibility to fix the situation. Richard convinced her to keep the kid. Why can't he be a good guy and help raise it? That's the beauty of Richard's deceit. He's the father. Did you actually stop and ask her, considering the change in her future circumstances incoming and her recent divorce, what she was looking for from dating? She may have had no intention of a serious relationship and asking you to be a stepdaddy. She may have had no intention of becoming a family with whoever she dates. Maybe she just wanted someone to have fun with and a few dates when she's not parenting. I didn't ask her anything about this. As I said, I never wanted to date someone with kids. At that moment, I didn't even know what to say to her. She just wanted someone to have fun with and a few dates when she's not parenting. I'm looking for a full-fledged relationship, not like a part-time one, so asking her about this wouldn't have changed anything anyway. Not the a-hole. Dating isn't a charity program, and agreeing to a date doesn't mean you signed up for stepdad boot camp. You were honest, respectful, and didn't lead her on. That's more than a lot of people would do. Richard needs to chill with the hero complex and stop trying to recruit you for a role you never auditioned for. Taking this to HR might not be a bad move if your workplace is turning into a soap opera over your personal boundaries. Next story. Am I the a-hole for insulting my husband for what he said about our daughter's boyfriend? My daughter, 17 female, recently started dating a boy 17 male. He is her first boyfriend. One of my biggest concerns when my daughter started dating was the possibility of her being mistreated, an obvious worry. However, after meeting her boyfriend at one of his baseball games, she met him through one of her friends in baseball, I realized this was not something I needed to be seriously concerned about. He is genuinely one of the sweetest people I have ever met. Every time I see him interact with the coaches, his teammates, his opponents, my daughter, etc., it is always positive. He is generally a very soft-spoken and kind individual, always positive and happy. I also say this with no ill intent, but he is fairly short and somewhat tubby, which is relevant to my husband's opinion. I obviously do not care about this, as he is a good person and clearly treats my daughter well. When my husband met him earlier, however, he did not seem as happy. Once he had left, my husband told me that he didn't think he was right for our daughter. He made comments about him not being man enough. I said that our daughter clearly loves him, and he clearly loves our daughter, and that I'm happy she's with someone we know is going to treat her right. My husband said that he would rather her be with a real man, not some short little gay kid. I got a little mad at this and said, "What would you rather have him be then? Some big macho man that snaps at our daughter?" He responded by saying that would be better than some fat pansy. I told him he was just being an annoying prick to the kid, for no reason other than he doesn't think he's man enough for some stupid arbitrary reason, and that he should be supporting our daughter. He said, "If you're fine with our daughter dating a freaking pansy, so be it, I guess." He stormed off, and I've been reflecting on it and think maybe what I said was uncalled for, as he has his own perspective on these things as a dad. And I should not have started throwing around insults, as that does nothing to fix this issue for our daughter and her boyfriend. Now for the comments. So he would rather your daughter be married to a brute tough guy who treats her like crap than a shorter chubby kid who treats her well? So appearance is actually more important than character to your husband. Tell your husband you did some research and found out there is zero obligation for him to bang your daughter's boyfriend so he can actually shove his opinion up his own butt. Not the a-hole, but pay attention to how he acts and what else he has these opinions on. He doesn't think like that in a vacuum. He's got to be an a-hole in 4D. Not only does OP's husband value appearance above character, he values appearance above his own daughter's well-being. That's just sick. He'd rather his daughter date some 6-foot macho man who hurts her than a chubby short kid she loves and who loves her back. I wonder when he watches Beauty and the Beast, does he root for Gaston? If my husband said something like this, it would kill any attraction I have towards him. OP's husband is obviously homophobic. I don't know how she can stay with someone who values toxic masculinity over the safety and happiness of his own child. Such a turn-off. People like OP's husband are so emotional and low IQ. It's a wonder they managed to get married in the first place. I assume it's a road lined with a lot of overlooked red flags. This is not only about appearance. OP's husband doesn't like the boyfriend because being nice to everyone is not masculine enough. Everyone sucks here except your daughter and her boyfriend if you don't nip this in the bud. Stop entertaining this BS. He has his own perspective on these things as a dad. Stop. This is your daughter. Do you really want the #1 male influence in her life, telling her that her safety and well-being is less important than the perception of adequate gender roles? Step up and demand better from your husband. Don't demand anything of the husband because you won't get it. He's an a-hole. He'll only dig his heels in. Instead, talk to and support your daughter. Let her know how much you approve of her boyfriend and warn her that her dad might cause problems with his backwards BS, so she'd best keep the boyfriend scarce when he's around. Discretion is the better strategy with these things sometimes. Next story. Am I the a-hole for demanding that my fiancé's parents change their plans to have a vacation at the same place as our honeymoon? My fiancé and I have our wedding coming up in April. We had brainstormed for a while about where to spend our honeymoon. We went over the more popular and well-known places, but then landed on a more offbeat destination that I felt would truly be a great place for us to start our life as a married couple. I've been looking forward to it just being the two of us. I know he has a really hectic work schedule, and we were going to make the most out of this. A couple of days ago, he told me that his parents had been impressed by how hyped I was about it, and were planning on going there for a vacation too, largely overlapping with our dates. They're staying at the same hotel as us. I was livid. They can go any other time. Why now? He said he had suggested that, but his mom said they had taken time off for the wedding too, and it worked well with their plans. Also, since we're going to be going back, it would allow them to maybe see us a few times before we leave. I was almost in tears. I was so angry. He tried to reassure me, saying they had promised it would be two separate things, and they wouldn't be inserting themselves into our honeymoon. They want us to enjoy it, and they'd be doing their own thing. I want to believe it, but I know his mom. I like her as a soon-to-be mother-in-law, but she can be very clingy and routinely laments how far he, and now we, are from them. So I just have a feeling the two plans are not going to be as independent as he thinks they'll be. I vented about it to my parents too. My mom agreed with me that this isn't right, while my dad is more on the fence about it. He doesn't think everything is ruined. I've demanded my fiancé make them change their plans. He says he asked them to. They promised to do their own thing. What can he do? Tell them he doesn't believe them and call them liars? I messed up here and said if that's what it takes. He got quiet, and I realized that was too much and sincerely apologized for crossing the line. This has been eating me up. I was envisioning a certain type of honeymoon, and now this happened. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. As much as it sucks, the only way to truly secure an in-law-free honeymoon would be to cancel your plans and go somewhere else. Not ideal, but there's no way you're not going to accidentally bump into them the whole time they're there. A few other comments have said this too. I truly appreciate what you're saying. I know I'm overreacting here, but this makes me want to bawl my eyes out. Not overreacting. If you think this will change post-wedding, think again. This is your future. When people show you who they are, believe them. Not the a-hole. I would personally change the hotel, the dates, or both. Or stay at a different hotel during the dates they're going to be there. Also, a no cell phone policy, so they can't get a hold of you. But to be honest, this is a husband problem, not an in-law problem. You should have shut her down point blank, and even the suggestion of going to your honeymoon destination at the same time. The dates can't really be changed. I'd be okay with that, but I know it wouldn't work for him. He had to move around some work stuff for us to finally land on these dates. A different hotel could work, but this is a coastal area, and I really wanted a hotel close to the beach. I'll start looking for some others too. This hotel had really good reviews as well. Because it's not a huge city or something, if people want to meet, it's not too inconvenient. Which sucks because what if they decide they do want to meet? And what if we run into each other on the beach? I'd have to change what I plan on wearing too. I'm just really hoping they change their plans because, quite honestly, if I'm the one who has to change plans, I might not end up being a good daughter-in-law. If you do decide to go ahead and marry him and stick to the same dates, change the hotel, no phones the whole time, turn them off and put them in the hotel safe. No plans to meet up, absolutely no contact with them at all. But the fact that you'd even have to consider this shows what a disappointment your future husband is. I'm sad for you that you're settling for this. I thought this over more. I was heartened by the response here because I thought I was the one being over the top about this. But I can see that most people agree that what they're doing isn't right. I really don't want to change plans. I'm going to see him after work and just stress how important it is to me that they not come. I'm going to talk about them respectfully, but be firm, because last time I went a little over the line, which I feel derailed our conversation. Last story. Am I the a-hole for admitting to my son that I love his mother more than him and telling him he's acting self-centered? My son moved out right after graduating college last year. Since then, he's been very preoccupied with his own life. My wife and I couldn't be prouder of him, but we do wish he made a little more effort to keep in touch, especially since he only lives 30 minutes away. Months would go by without hearing from him, and we were always the ones to reach out first. We never complained about it to him until my wife's birthday. Her birthday was 2 days ago, and we didn't get a call or a surprise visit. She was a little upset but chose not to confront him. I decided to call him about it, not out of anger, just as a reminder. I said, "Hey buddy, you missed your mom's birthday." He immediately apologized and asked me to wish her a happy birthday on his behalf. I told him it would be nice if he could visit us soon because we miss him. Apparently that set him off. He told me that he has his own life to live and that we have ours. I told him I understood, but we're still his parents and want to stay close. That's when he bluntly said he doesn't want a close relationship with us and that he's frustrated we won't leave him alone. I asked him why, and out of nowhere, he brought up something from when he was 10 years old. He said he overheard my wife and me saying that we love each other more than we love him. I was completely confused because I don't recall ever saying anything like that. When I asked for more context, he said we had been talking about our own parents' marriages. And at some point, I said something along the lines of, even though I love him a lot, I love his mother the most. My wife apparently agreed with me, and that conversation has tainted his view of our relationship ever since. I told him there was nothing wrong with what I said, and that he was acting like a self-centered brat who thinks the world revolves around him. He told me to go to hell. When I told my wife about what happened, she said I was wrong for calling him that, even though I believe it was true. You're the a-hole. First of all, he is as you raised him. Secondly, kids don't just suddenly decide to let go of relationships with their parents because they heard something like that. In a home with engaged available parents, kids flip out and tell their parents they overheard something upsetting, or they demand to know why they would say such a thing. They don't just keep it a secret for 20 years. Something else was going on. It may be that you meant that you love your wife and understood that she would be your partner even when your kids grew up and moved on, but clearly you did make your child feel neglected. If you want a relationship, calling your son a self-centered a-hole isn't a great way to begin. Did it even occur to you to ask how he felt or try to clarify what you meant or express any sadness about the fact that he did not in fact feel loved? Did you think to tell him you would like to have a better relationship? Do you even want that? It wasn't just the one thing. Other stuff happened that you're not aware of or are actively ignoring. Not necessarily. Sometimes it is the one thing. OP's kid internalized his parents' love for each other as they're not having any love for him. Few people would have the courage to address that in case they found out it was true. He was 10 years old at the time. It is actually not at all reasonable to believe that in an otherwise loving, supportive family, a child that age would hear their parents say something like that and that they would accept it as true in a simple, uncomplicated way that they never questioned for decades after, or that it would never come up again. I mean, can we blame him? He's probably internalized that for years. And then you call him spoiled because he thinks you don't love him as much, when really you should have said those are two different forms of love. You're the a-hole.